Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel where I talk about all things meditation and Buddhist practice. Today, I would like to talk about something you may have encountered before. If you've been practicing mindfulness long enough, you certainly will encounter this teaching on what are called the five hindrances. So, the quote unquote hindrances are all mind states in that people experience, and they hinder us on our path to meditation, and they hinder us actually in life too, on our path to anything. So with mindfulness practice, we get to know well the whole mind, all wholesome states, all unwholesome states we are learning about through our mindfulness practice. And the five hindrances are unwholesome mind states. I want to talk a little bit about how this word nivarana, which is the Pali word for hindrance, is defined. And then we'll go into more details about what they are and then how to work with them, how they obstruct us in our life, and then how to work with them and ultimately how to overcome them. So, primary meaning, the one that you'll hear the most, and that is not my favorite for the translation of nivarana, is hindrance or obstruction. I like obstruction a little bit better. It refers to the five mental hindrances that obstruct progress towards concentration and insight. They are sensual desire, ill will, restlessness, worry, and anxiety are also in there. Sloth and drowsiness or laziness, and doubt or uncertainty. So these are all just visitors that every human mind has. They're not only relevant on our meditation cushion, but they're relevant in our life. So if we have a goal that we're working towards in life, these are the mental obstructions that will knock us off of our path. The Buddha called them destroyers of sight. So they hinder our clarity of mind. Destroyers of sight, of vision, clarity of vision, and knowledge. They block wisdom and are on the side of distress. So, like what the Buddha called unwholesome mind states, they lead to stress. They don't lead to clarity. There's a really great story where the Buddha was walking with his monks, and behind them were walking two people. And one was disparaging the Buddha, and the other was praising him. And later the Buddha had a talk with his monks and told them, don't become angry at people who disparage me. And he asked them, if you are angry, would you be able to discern reality as it is, tell the truth as it is? And the monks readily and easily said no, which is a sign to me that they had already had an understanding that when a hindrance like anger or ill will is there, they aren't seen clearly. So the hindrances are things in our minds that obstruct us from seeing clearly. And as we progress in our mindfulness practice, then what happens is we start to lose faith in the afflictions of mind, the negative sides of mind that are holding us back, that don't help us, that are not onward leading, and gaining faith in all of those qualities like energy and concentration and clarity and kindness and compassion that do help us, that do lead us onward. And so the whole process of Buddhist practice is that right effort is called growing and sustaining helpful, wholesome mind states and abandoning and letting go of unhelpful, unwholesome mind states. So the five hindrances are in that category. So other translations of the five hindrances, my favorite here, covering or a veil. The Buddha said that our minds are naturally luminous, but it is because of visiting afflictions or defilements that we suffer. So the five hindrances are a veil that cover over clarity, cover over our wisdom, cover over our ability to respond to life, to our practice in ways that are useful and helpful. Metaphorically, it obscures the mind's clarity. This is often used to describe how the hindrances cloud wisdom and prevent seeing reality as it is. Another's an obstruction or a barrier. It can mean barrier or obstacle. I like the word obstacle too, with the knowledge that we are running an obstacle course. Like, these things are supposed to be there. We are supposed to get inside them and study them, feel them. That's what mindfulness is really knowing what you're feeling when you're feeling and seeing it on an intimate level, how it affects your mind, how it affects your body. And by doing so, we, again, lose faith in those things that are not helpful for us. So there are obstacles or barriers to the path of liberation, which is the Buddhist path, but there are obstacles or barriers to anything in our life. Defilement and impurity is another translation. It's associated with the other word kalesas, which is translated as defilement. Not a word that I loved in the beginning of my practice, but I really love it now. Or affliction. I love both of those now, especially if you do not identify with the defilements of mind, the negative parts of mind, but see that there's something, call it Mara, call it whatever you want, that comes into the mind that obstructs what the Buddha called the natural luminosity of the heart. So let's talk a little bit. But before we do, I want to mention that Sadhu Pandita had this great word called Sadhu Pandita is a really renowned monk from Burma. And he talked about something called a spiritual intelligence. And as this develops within our mindfulness practice, the intelligence to really understand what in the mind is helpful for us as human beings and what in the mind is hindering us. So as we gain in our mindfulness practice, we gain a clear understanding of our spiritual intelligence. So let's talk about meaning of what is wholesome, what is not wholesome, what is helpful, what is not helpful. So let's break down a little bit the five hindrances, talk about how you can work with them in your meditation practice. Very important to work with them in your meditation practice, where you have time to remove distractions, quiet the mind, and then get very still and see how all of these things arise in us and where they come from. And you feel in your own experience what's helpful, what's not helpful. So sensual desire is craving, and it means a particular kind of desire that wants things to be pleasant or comfortable in the sense doors. So how could that hinder us? If you're meditating and your mind suddenly thinks of a cookie, and then a desire can arise, you want something to be that pleasant feeling, that could take you off of your path of meditation. You could stop and give in to that desire, right? If you're meditating and things get uncomfortable, then the desire for things to be comfortable when they're not. And this is the same with when we're working in the world towards anything worldly. Takes work, takes enduring discomforts to bring about whatever we're trying to bring about in our life. And if we give up and look for things to be easy, go lay down and take a nap or try to avoid the discomforts, then it will knock us off of our path. So good to recognize, to know this is what this is. And with our meditation practice, we become mentally stronger, more fit and mentally stronger, so that these impulses do not push us around anymore. We can overcome them. Anger or ill will or hatred towards unpleasant experiences. So, like wanting only comfort, only pleasant experiences. This is the part of the mind that rejects unpleasant experience. So, if you're meditating and things get uncomfortable, which they will, or if you're working towards a goal in your life and things get uncomfortable, which they will, and you knock off the path and you've given up the path because of this hindrance. Sloth and torpor, that's the common translation of the kind of lazy part of our mind, lethargy, dullness, or lack of energy. And then restlessness and worry or anxiety in an unsettled mind. Boredom is also in that category, and so is remorse. Restlessness, worry, remorse, and boredom. And then doubt, a subtle mind state, and uncertainty, or a lack of confidence in what you're doing, in yourself, and the teaching and the teacher. So the general approach to dealing with the hindrances is to be aware of them. Know when they're there. So in your meditation practice, watch for the hindrances. Don't look for them. Don't try to call them up, but watch for them. Is there sleepiness here now? Is there dullness here now? Is there annoyance? Is there anger? Is there craving? And one of the reasons I don't like the word hindrance is because it makes you kind of seem like you want to get that thing out of your way. But that isn't what we're trying to do with our meditation practice. We want to study all of these aspects of mind, the wholesome and the unwholesome. And as we study, the unwholesome naturally start to diminish in the mind, and the wholesome naturally start to grow. So noting, label the hindrance clearly. If it's anger, noting anger, and then not identifying with the hindrance. See it as a visitor in your mind. This is not me. This is not myself. This I am not. If it was you, it'd be there all the time, right? But you're not angry all the time. You're not sleepy all the time. It's just a visitor. And then with continuous awareness, where we're careful, not negligent with our attention, but watching the experience as it arises, the effects of the experience as it passes away. And then our ethical practices really help for the hindrances to not arise in the first place. So if we are careful with the 5 precepts, with our speech, with not harming others, with not gossiping about others, with not lying. So let's say we're not. If we drink a lot or if we have an affair, the mind will get filled with these hindrances, will be filled with remorse and worry, and the mind cannot settle in that state. So the actions that we take in the world are helpful for setting us up for our meditation practice. Okay, so let's break these down and talk about specific strategies that you can use for each of the hindrances. For sensual desire, note the desire precisely, wanting, craving. Observe its impermanent nature and reflect on the impermanence or unsatisfactoriness of whatever it is that we're desiring. So if the mind wants a cookie in that moment, reflect on how very temporary that satisfaction, the taste of cookie comes and goes. And then there's negative consequences to that, whereas there's no negative consequences to staying on the path of the meditation practice. So just when we get kind of tricked, like I need that, when a craving arises, being aware of it is the first and most important thing in our meditation practice. But then those other things are reflecting on the unsatisfactoriness of caving in. Sadhu Pandita said that craving was like a red hot coal. You recognize its danger and then let go rather than grasp it. So opposite kind of craving, ill will or anger, again, noting the feeling, just naming. When we're living our life normally, and these hindrances are here with us all day long, all the time, we aren't really aware that they are there. And there's so much power into just naming a feeling, a mind state, when it exists. So noting that feeling and shifting the focus to the sensations that are in your body. And anger comes with strong sensations, tightness or heat or wherever you're feeling it in the body. This helps us to come out of the story in the mind. And as you're doing it, do so with a sense of kindness. Metta is the opposite. Have that sense of loving kindness towards yourself and acceptance, not aversion towards the aversion. We're not trying to get rid of it. We're trying to see it as it is. Be aware of it is our only job. Laziness, noting drowsiness, dullness, and energizing the mind through an increased effort. Walking meditation can help. Opening your eyes can help. Focusing on a bright object can help. Again, sleepiness is something that we're not trying to get rid of, but we can bring up energy in the mind. Bringing up energy can help to burn away the dullness that will visit the mind. Restlessness and worry, noting worry, anxiety, boredom, restlessness, and slowing down the movements can really help. Gently returning to the breath, observing its rhythm to stabilize attention. So if we give the mind a very gentle returning to the worry, when anxiety or worry, the mind will pop off of the meditation object. But countering it by very gently just coming back to that, just the breath, and the concentration then will settle the agitated, restless, and worry mind. And again, we're not trying to make it go away. We want to know these things from the inside. They will decrease as we see and explore the causes of how they arise. They aren't random. They're arising from causes and conditions, and we can put in causes that will help to alleviate them. All of them are just feelings, and a feeling is just thoughts in the head and then sensations in your body. That's every single mind state. Humans can go to great lengths trying to avoid any of these mind states, but all of them are doable for us. So thoughts in the head and feelings in the body. And then doubt and uncertainty. When doubt is present, you want to put your mind on something that can be immediately known. Now, of course, we name it. Like all of them, the first thing to do is to know that it is there. Name it. Doubt, uncertainty. And then doubt can have a kind of lingering effect of spinning the mind over, asking questions that put the mind in a little hazy anxiety. And the best thing to do is just to put the mind's attention on what can be known, like the sensation of your seat against the cushion. Okay, that can be known right now. There's hardness here, softness, there's heat, there's vibration. Am I breathing in or am I breathing out? As simple as that. That can be known right now. Hearing can be known right now. So there's 5 additional strategies that the Buddha talked about for dealing with not only the hindrances but other mind states. But let's keep this about other unwholesome mind states. We'll keep it about the hindrances for now. So those 5 strategies are to replace, reflect on the consequences, ignore or turn away from, investigate, and then suppress. So replacing means substituting unwholesome thoughts with wholesome ones. For your daily mindfulness practice, I wouldn't do this, but as you get to know these hindrances, they arise in your life, then you can replace, for example, thoughts of anger with thoughts of loving kindness. So that's a really great practice. You see somebody has upset you in your life, you're ruminating, the anger is there, replacing those thoughts first toward yourself. May I be free from this anger. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. And then out to other people. Maybe not the person you're angry at, but eventually to that person also. And then reflecting on the consequences of indulging in the hindrance, and on acting on anger, we can just reflect on giving in to restlessness, reflecting on those consequences. Investigating, we've been talking about in the meditation practice. Examine the hindrance arising and passing away and understand its impermanence. And then a final advice the Buddha gave is to suppress it, use forceful effort to push the hindrance out temporarily, but only as a very last resort. Sometimes our mind is pretty insistent on these unwholesome states can kind of be relentless. The hindrance can really linger. So the Buddha said to really have that, no, I'm not doing this kind of attitude towards the hindrance at those points. You want to make sure that that's never done from a place of wise strength, but not anger. I would spend a lot of time in my practice, kind of aversively trying to get rid of the hindrances. But a soft, compassionate attitude is much more useful. Welcome them. When they're there, you can't help it. It can't be different. Our internal reality can't be any different than it is. So these are the difficult, obstructive states of mind. I will follow up with a talk on the helpful, onward leading states of mind that are called the 7 factors of enlightenment. They are also helpful in they're helpful in our spiritual practice, they're helpful in our meditation practice, and they are also helpful in our life. So these obstructions do not only obstruct us in meditation. The more we learn about it, the reason why the quality of our life improves so much from our meditation practice is precisely because we get to know all of those things that are obstructing us in life. So I hope this has been helpful for you and that you can use it in your practice. Be well.